he's not the evil of the world. That's just called success.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the New York City tax breakdown? Like how much of the tax is paid by wealthy people?
Oh, I'm sure it's 60%,
It's an
65%.
enormous percent of a small percentage of the population is paying an enormous percent of the taxes.
Well,
And it's still chaos. And I understand that this capitalism thing that we're running is not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's the best system that we've ever seen.
What do you think a plant is?
And the thing about what everyone's saying when it comes to equality of income, you need to take into consideration equality of effort, equality of focus.
What do you think a plant is?
The idea that success comes to people in this Western world who work really hard, and a lack of success comes to people who don't work really hard, is a narrative pushed by these gatekeepers. Katt Williams mentioned in his interview something about gatekeepers letting people in to Hollywood and keeping people out from Hollywood, planting people and dismissing people. It's not just in our little cubbyhole of the industry, it's the entire industry itself. The industry of Westernism is designed to keep a particular group of people in a particular position in life, in a particular mentality, while other people are used to be seen as examples of success, examples of failure. People like Joe Rogan and this Taylor Sheridan that he has on his show, these are the kind of people who are used to maintain the illusion that this system that they've been pushing on everybody for years is legit. They are celebrity politicians. They are the politicians for the Western world as we know it. You have politicians for the illusion of democracy, for the illusion of capitalism, but you also have politicians for the entire system, the macro politician. These are the people who manipulate the mindset of the people who give their power away to the illusory government political scene, the illusory benevolent circle of people who say that they're in charge, who say that they are where they are because they just worked hard. They worked hard and you didn't work hard. How long are people going to keep telling that story? They're going to keep telling that story as long as people like Joe Rogan, who are put on a pedestal, his platform is a pedestal. As long as people like him keep selling that story that things are the way they are. And in this video, they're just defending themselves because they got money. That's why they have to defend the whole system. It's no different than what white people have to do for this system. They have to defend the whole system to defend their livelihood. At your expense is of no, never mind. They don't care about that. It's been at your expense since they founded this nation. See, one thing that gets dismissed when you listen to people like Joe Rogan say the things that he's saying in this video, pushing this idea that everything is legit, everything is square.
Sure, there's people that have become wealthy doing shady things and ripping people off and finding legal loopholes to extract money, for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But also, people have put in insane amounts of work and focus and dedication to whatever the fuck it is and become way better at it than other people and gotten very successful too. And their businesses have blown up and now they sell, X amount of units at Walmart and this and that. But what the fuck did that guy have to do that? And are you willing to do that? You probably aren't. So there's a competition going on. And that guy's way ahead in the regular competition, not the stealing competition, not the taking advantage of people. He's way ahead. And that guy has been an insane worker for 30 years.
Yeah.
So if you come along and say that guy needs to pay his share, and this is the reason why the world's all fucked, well, no, you have a juvenile perspective.
We are where we are because we busted our ass. We fucking worked hard, man. Fuck you. You just don't work hard enough.
You need to take into consideration equality of effort, equality of focus.
They're there to tell that story to maintain their own livelihood. It's gaslighting you to the highest degree, nothing less. This is mass scale gaslighting.
You have a juvenile perspective.
Trying to make you believe that what you are experiencing, what you are observing, not just you, but generations of you have experienced the same thing, and you can read about it. You've seen it. You've watched it. Constantly living in a place of struggle. You know why? When people say what they're saying in this interview, why you are where you are, your family has been where it's been, which is nowhere, no movement. It's that way because at your core, at the core of your family, you just don't work hard enough.
Equality of effort, equality of focus.
This is the narrative they are pushing with this idea of, oh, well, we're taxed so much and it's okay. I'm okay with it being taxed as long as the system works. And it is the best system that we've ever experienced. See, when they say that we shit, they're not talking about you. They're talking about them. Like a meme I saw the other day talking about the 90s being the peak of our species. They don't speak for you. They don't speak for humanity, but they say they do. They've convinced themselves that they are the speakers for all of humanity. Because of the way they see the world, because of the way they've seen us, because of the way the institutions, the university systems, the way that system has described who we are and who they are, how they are. In that light, in that golden, positive, progressive, evolving light. That's how they've described themselves. How have they described you forever? Has that ever changed? No. You're Mexican, you're fucking lazy. You're black, you're a criminal. You're white, you're the light of the world. You're ushering humanity into the evolved state that all these people are talking about when they talk about higher technology and higher consciousness and all that. We're going to get there. Why? Because we're taking us there with technology and with capital. It's the best there is. Is it? Who are they talking to? Why is this conversation never cross-referenced with people in our community? Why do they always take this things are the best they ever have been stance when we're on that platform? It doesn't happen. Because they know that they can only maintain those mind controls when they have reinforcements. And they know that we will not, true, real ass people, will not reinforce their illusions, especially at our expense. It will be seen bright as day if that shit gets thrown in our face. But when they are in their comfort zone, when they are in their echo chambers, there are no reservations. They will throw you under the bus in a heartbeat. And that's what they're doing in this interview.
But there's also a lot of people that are doing the same thing you're trying to do. They just did it better. And they did it for longer. And now they're 70. And they're worth $1 billion or whatever the fuck they're worth. And he's not the evil of the world. That's just called success.
Yeah.
So they just worked hard. They're doing exactly what you did under the exact same conditions with nothing different. You want to talk about race? That's an illusion. Everybody can win. Look, we had a black president. That's the story they tell. That's the story people like Joe Rogan, pieces of shit like Joe Rogan, maintain. They can't let it go. Because if they let that go, they let go of their power.
He's not the evil of the world. That's just called success.
Yeah.
He's not the evil of the world. That's just called success. He's talking to the world. What is he saying? Rich people are not the evil of the world. In this position that we're in right now, where the smallest percentage of people in the world have everything, they own everything. If that's the case, if that's the reality, and somebody has the nerve to sit on the biggest, arguably the biggest platform in the world, Somebody, if that's the reality, that 0.001% of the people in the world own everything at your expense. If that's the case, let's say this podcast is the only podcast in the world. This is our only information channel. If people were to look at the world and listen to this being the only channel, let's say he's the king of information and it's his job to share information and perspectives of the world. He's been entrusted with this responsibility to tell the people what they should hear, what they need to know about this system. If he's been entrusted by the king of the United States, and he gets on his platform and says that shit, that they're just successful because they worked hard, and you're not because you don't, how would you see him? And how would you see this situation from that perspective? It's easy to see that he is out there to keep you in this illusion of forward progress and everything is okay. And this is the best of the best of the best. And there's nothing against you specifically. How could there be? This is the best system in the world.
Now, there are definitely people that are manipulating the system.
100%.
And if we decided to become a communist party tomorrow, those same thieves will be the leaders of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
They will find their way.
Uh-huh.
And then
100%.
And this is exactly what they do to try to make you believe that this is the best system in the world. This is how they make you believe it. They put it up against something like communism, something like socialism. And they try to convince you that this is your only option. Information shared this way is no different than how they sell you politics. If they have a Republican in power, they'll sell you, hey, this Democrat is the only way. They did it with George Bush and they did it with Obama. They did it with Biden is a better example, and they did it with Trump. Hey, we've had this piece of shit for 4 years. We need to get this country back on track. Put a Democrat in there. Put me in there. I can do it. And then when that shit don't work out, then they just flip the script. Hey, it's enough of this same old stuff with the Democratic Party. Let's get a new, fresh person in there. Let's get this ball rolling again. Put a Republican up there. It's no different. Only in the idea of socialism versus capitalism, there's no need to change anything. They don't have to change politicians. They don't have leaders. The leader is the idea. That's what the leader is. That's what the president is. The president of our movement in this world is the illusion that this is the best way to live. This system. And they force it on you with people like Joe Rogan. And he reinforces himself with people like Taylor Sheridan, who produce TV shows like 1883, which is who this guy is. They produce these shows like Yellowstone, 1883, 1942. They tell the story of the world. At least they tell the story of your nation in a light that reflects upon them nothing but positivity. At your expense. In these TV shows, believe, if you haven't seen them, that they are projecting onto you what they are selling in these university systems, in the public education system, in those books. You are savage. You don't work hard enough. You're just lazy. And the people who work really hard for their whole life, they're 70 years old and now they're a billionaire. Because they worked hard and you didn't. I'm on Spotify and YouTube. I got $10 million just because I work hard. Really? That's it? Because you work hard? Joe Rogan is the Kevin Hart of podcasts. Coming at it from a Katt Williams perspective, Joe Rogan is the Kevin Hart of information. Nothing less. You want to talk about plants? You want to talk about corruption? You want to talk about people diddling with people? Joe Rogan is in those circles. He's a diddler. He's diddling with your mind. He is the lead diddler.
It's like, oh, you're fucking bullshitting. You're bullshitting to get to that spot. And then when you get to that spot, you're going to benefit from it. So you're just playing the world. You're playing us off. And that drives everybody nuts. And it should, because that's the problem. The problem is not a system that's in place. The problem is who exploits the system.
It's important in the checks and balances of the universe that liars not get to make complete narratives for themselves.
Joe Rogan is the George Soros of information. He's the Anthony Fauci of reality. He's the Oprah of the underground industry that maintains control over the masses. Nothing less. Nothing less. They're the maintainers, not of democracy, not of forward progress, not of the best of humanity. No, not how they paint him, not how he paints himself. He's the Harvey Weinstein of critical information. Not just Hollywood. He's not trying to put people in movies. He's trying to put people in information. And if you don't speak the right information, he won't put you in a movie. You won't be in that circle. And if you do choose to get on that platform, no, this is turning into a message to Katt Williams. Not saying he's ever going to see it. Not saying he's ever going to hear it. That doesn't matter. The information is what matters. Just know that whatever space that you are trying to hold, that you are holding with Shannon Sharp, that's not going to happen with Joe Rogan. He's not that guy. You're basically talking to Kevin Hart. He's the Steve Harvey of podcasts.
You know what? One of the things you said to me that I really liked when we were on the phone, you were like, I'm trying to be less famous. Like, I don't want to do your show to get famous.
Yeah,
like,
no,
this is the last fucking thing I want.
No.
Like, good. That's a
So you
healthy
have
way to look at it.
And this is not to get behind Katt and say, oh, he's the best, he did all this. He's very good. I don't know him. Never met him. I can't say that I trust him. I don't know him. What I do know is that he's done something that in those circles pretty much nobody's ever done to that degree. You've had people like Dick Gregory speak out on this stuff, and Paul Mooney mentioned it. George Carlin says some of this stuff, but the direct shot that Katt put out there, it's pretty much been nothing like it out there before that or since then. And beyond all that, ultimately Katt Williams hasn't really said anything that we didn't already know. We already knew this. It's so controversial to people in the world because they didn't know any of this shit. They might have heard a few things here and there, but it didn't sit anywhere in any kind of real space. It's just been hearsay or a conspiracy theory. But to speak that information on that kind of platform directly to people like that, about people like that, merits a certain amount of courage. And that courage demands a certain level of respect. And the respect that I already have for Katt was up there. Knowing the person that he is, just from what I know, from what I've seen in the interviews and the things that he said before that big interview, because he said all this stuff before. But again, it's nothing new, but it can't be downplayed. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying there's more to it. And if and when it goes to that next level and you end up speaking to Joe Rogan, know that when you're talking to Joe Rogan, you're talking to Kevin Hart. You're talking to Steve Harvey. You're talking to Cedric. You're talking to Harvey. You're talking to Soros. You're talking to Fauci. These are those gatekeepers. He is that gatekeeper. And just guessing, because I don't know him, like I said, but just guessing, I'm sure he knows all this already. Giving him the benefit of the doubt, I'm sure he knows this. And I'm not trying to push him like some kind of superhero or something like that. It's just something that's going on out there. Just like everything else that's going on out there. It's a subject matter to be spoken on. If it's in your realm, it's something that has shaken things up. And if you're paying attention to what's going on, things that shake things up, events that shake things up are moments full of opportunity. And people in that kind of industry, they jump on opportunities like that. And when they jump on those opportunities, they will jump at your expense.
The problem is not the system.
What do you think a plant is?
The problem is who exploits the system.
The problem is not the system. This is the main point with this video that I wanted to share with people. This is how he's a gatekeeper. They maintain your perspective on the individual people to take the responsibility and the power away from you from addressing the system. Your power comes from addressing the system. It does not come from addressing the people.
The problem is not the system that's in place. The problem is who exploits the system.
If you were to change your perspective from the politicians, from the president, from the governors and the mayors, if you took them out of the equation and focused on the system, you would be unstoppable because you would be focusing on the foundation of this broken system. But people like him, like I said, they are the Kevin Harts, the Steve Harveys, the Harvey Weinsteins. They are the Anthony Fauci's of information to deflect from your power. They will tell you it is not the system. You just don't work fucking hard, you piece of shit. It's not the system. It's psychopaths and crazy people. And I don't know about any of them. I've never been around these people. It's just conspiracy theory to me. I just sit in my little corner and I worked really hard and I made it to where I am. Just like this man, Taylor Sheridan. He used to be poor, just like me. We made it. Why can't you do it? Probably because you don't work too hard, fucking Mexican.
You know what? One of the things you said to me that I really liked when we were on the phone, you were like, I'm trying to be less famous. Like, I don't want to do your show to get famous.
Yeah,
like,
no,
this is the last fucking thing I want.
No.
Like, good. That's a
So you
healthy
have
way to
to-
look at it.
We're just two regular guys, you know? We're not trying to be famous. We just ended up here because we worked really hard and we're talented. We know what to do. We're smart guys. We earned our respect. We earned our position in society. I don't even want to be famous.
The only reason to want the job, because it is so unpleasant,
It's so unpleasant.
it is either A, for the most part, you crave power that much,
Yeah.
or B, you crave fame that much.
Yeah. You'd be the most famous, most powerful person on the planet.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you're the president of the United States.
Now they put the perspective back onto the people. This is the story. This is no different than the story that's going along with the Katt Williams thing. With everything that he unveiled in that story, like I said, we've already known about every single detail that he shared in there. We've been talking about it for years. But in their circles, who didn't know about half of that shit he exposed, out of all that information that he brought to the surface, the deepest, darkest depths of manipulation, control, corruption, criminal action, all that shit that's out there, the majority of people want to focus on the entertainment factor of it. They only care about the people, what the people have to say. What the people have to say is irrelevant, because if you research the information on your own, you wouldn't need what they have to say about this. What they have to say about this situation is irrelevant. It's not about the people. It's about the system. And if you're wondering what people are thinking and what they have to say in defense of themselves, you're caught up in the romanticizing of it. You're caught up in the mainstream media deflection, distraction version of this information. No different than what Joe Rogan does on his podcast with critical information. They pivot. They'll state something and you'll say, hey, that sounds kind of good. Yeah, right. It's not the system. This system it's a finely tuned machine. It's a well-oiled, finely tuned machine. It's working well. It's the best thing in the world. It's not the system. It's these corrupt people. And people like Joe Rogan and Taylor Sheridan are our friends. They're speaking up for us. They're trying to expose the people who are ruining this system. Depending on where you're coming from, people like Donald Trump, people like the Democrats and the Republicans, with this woke culture out there, And on the other side, these Republicans with their racist tendencies and their patriarchal approach to reality, they're crazy. It's them, they're in the wrong. And here you are, not knowing what to say, never done your own research, don't know how to think, because we're not taught how to think for ourselves. We're not taught how to research for ourselves. You're taught how to conform to the system. And if you do not conform to the system, you will be an outsider. And people like Joe Rogan, very similar attacks, will call you lazy, will call you a conspiracy theorist, whatever it is. They have a name to attack you with. And since they have so much power, they have that pedestal from that system, that's who you'll be seen as.
Because there's some really, really smart, good, thoughtful people that care a lot about the country on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
And none of them are running for these offices.
See, there it is. Defending the system, maintaining your trust, your belief, your love in this system. There's good people on both sides. So it's not just about the bad people, the corrupt people messing up the system. No, the system is great. And there's good people on the left and there's good people on the right. So we just got to get our shit together. We got to get those good people to run for office. And they put a pretty little bow on it. And they're going to use people like Katt Williams and whoever else they can get their dirty little fucking hands on to try to manipulate and skew that conversation. Mark my words. If Katt Williams does a Joe Rogan interview, Joe Rogan will eventually have to take the same perspective, the same approach to that interview as he does with Eddie Bravo. He will have to find ways to dismiss him. He will have to find a way to make him look crazy, to make him look like he's not saying anything based in any truth. And the way Katt is, I know he's not going to have any problems with that. He's going to hold his own. Like I said, I'm not pushing Katt in any perspective. I don't know anything about him. Just from what I've seen so far, my gut is telling me that he's not one to shy away from what he's already put out there and what he stands for. And like I said, people who go through Oakland, you don't have to be from Oakland. You just have to experience that place enough to get it in your blood. We hold that line. It changes you. When you go through that place, it changes you. This is why we are attacked so much. And as a tangent, I'll just go through this to end this video. This is why they attack the system, attacks certain locations, because they know certain energies come out of that location. Energy centers of the world, they know about this. They built pyramids on this. Here in the United States, the indigenous people here, we built mounds. And not just piles of shit, no. There are mounds here in this country that are bigger than the pyramids in Egypt and built to the same specifications of the pyramids, down to millimeters. Accurate. The most accurate shit you could imagine. Step pyramids all through the Americas, which were the earliest pyramids ever. They were the first pyramids. A lot of people don't know about this. And the system is not going to unveil that. It undercuts everything that they tried to make you believe in. So they know that these are energy centers. And Oakland is an energy center. So what do they do to attack you and disarm you? They put drugs in your community. They put guns in your community. They put liquor stores on every corner. They stack you in apartment complexes. It's basically a reservation. This is what these so-called ghettos are. They stack you on top of each other unnaturally, put you in an unnatural environment so you can take each other out. This is a known fact that this system that these people are protecting, that this system is very much aware of and has weaponized into the fabric of the community that you live. And when you fight through all that shit that they use to beat you down, they will suck the life out of you. They will take your people out and they will suck the life out of your community. The little bit of manipulated life that you have through your sports teams, Because sports teams, as manipulative and fucked up as it is, still has a sense of unifying people. And if you unify people in a heavily energy-filled location, powerful people, if you unify powerful people, it doesn't matter how they're unified. If you unify them, they become a threat. So you have to remove that. Any possibility of unification, you have to remove that. So what do they do in Oakland? They take the Raiders. They take the Warriors. They take the A's. They take your leaders. They take out the Black Panther Party. They suck every ounce of life out of your world, out of your little community. So you have nothing left but yourself. And doing things like that, it just buys more time for them. Because you can't stop our power, our network, our communication, our information. It doesn't come from those artificial unifying factors that were given to us by this system. It doesn't come from us being Raider fans and being Warrior fans. No, that's extra. In fact, largely it's more of a hindrance than anything. But when you suck that life out, the only positive energy that we've had in this whole fucking community, because the rest of the time people are killing themselves and killing everybody else and robbing and shit. I just had my car broken into the other fucking day in a city outside of Oakland. Thinking it was going to be okay. Busted the back window, took my golf clubs. That energy has to go somewhere. People have to survive. And they are forced. We are forced into these positions. And that person who stole my golf clubs, people like Joe Rogan will immediately blame it on that person. Not for 1 second did I blame that person. The fact that a person stole my shit out of my car, broke into my property, and stole my property, the very fact that they did that has nothing to do with that individual. But people like Joe Rogan will spend their entire careers forcing you, making you believe that it's all about that person. It's not. It is this system. No matter how much they want to tell you it's these criminal, lazy, dumb, fucked up people. No matter how much they want to make you convince it's you, it's not. Just as it's not about Steve Harvey, it's not about Kevin Hart, it's not about Cedric, it's not about Harvey Weinstein. They are little pawns in that world, in that system. And if you get caught up in that world, you're going to miss your opportunity to address the system.
The problem is not the system that's in place. The problem is who exploits the system.
So, Katt, if by any chance you end up listening to this, know, which you probably already do, when you get on that platform, they will attempt to destroy your character. And when you bring things to the surface about this system, as you did with the Shannon Sharpe interview, when you do that on Joe Rogan's podcast, he will hold that line and try to make it about you and try to make it about individuals and distract from the system. This is their job. This is what they're paid to do. This is what they are elevated in society to do. Don't let it happen.